Are you here? Hooray! We love it when you're here. Ladies and gentlemen, we are pleased to present a fresh interview with Miss Irma Thomas, the soul queen of New Orleans. Simply the best. It was recorded on Lundi Gras 2025. Your host, Paul, was delighted to welcome Sweet Irma Thomas in audio-visual brilliance. That's video. This is the second interview of Irma Thomas you will find on this show. You're going to want to see Irma Thomas perform at the 2025 New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, April 26th and May 2nd. Paul wouldn't miss it for the world. You simply go to nojazzfest.com. That's NOJAZZFEST.com. nojazzfest.com. We also hear that the one and only Irma Thomas has a new album coming out. Wow! Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to hear all about it and a lot more in this interview, which you are sure to enjoy. So what do you say? Let's listen together.
Hi,
Hi, Miss Thomas. How are you?
I'm alive, thank you.
Well, such an honor, such a pleasure to talk to you today.
Same here. You realize today is Lundi Gras, huh?
That's right. That's right. I was just going to actually ask you, did you have any plans or are there any traditions that you have today?
It's called when you're not in a parade, you sit at home and you watch it on TV.
That sounds pretty good to me.
Well, I've had my share of parades and I've had my share of rides in parades. And this particular Mardi Gras season, they actually honored me in the Ferret Cruise Parade with a float of my likeness, which I didn't ride because, at 84, I don't want to be up there throwing stuff. And, I wanted to, but my body tells me one thing and I have to listen to my body. So.
Well, what's that like? What's it like to have a parade that has a float with your...
Very humbling.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'll put it this way. I don't expect a lot of things that a lot of folks assume. I don't assume anything, even though I've been singing since heaven knows when, over 60 some years. I still don't assume that they're going to take the time because that costs money. And that when someone goes through that much trouble to present something with your likeness and be a part of their celebration, to me, that's very humbling. And so, you don't really get used to it. At least I haven't. After all these years, I still haven't gotten used to it. But it's appreciated by me because they didn't have to do that. They even titled their whole parade series after one of my songs, which they had. The theme of their parade was "Time Is on My Side." So I did go over. I went out to they sent a car for me to come to the start of the parade where it was forming at, and I met the folk who were on the float that was representing me, and I sung a little bit of "Time Is on My Side" for them. So I try.
It's funny that you use that word humbling because I listened to, this was years and years ago, you were a phone-in guest on this show and you were calling in and you use that word again and again, humbling. And to me, I think is it hard to be humble when you get inducted? No?
No. I'm an only child. I'm a survivor and I know what it's like to not have. So when someone is doing something and making it a gift to you, I've learned to appreciate it. And to me, it's very humbling that someone would think that much of you. And I was raised to do unto others as you'd have them do unto you. And I try to treat people the way I want to be treated. So Yeah, it's very humbling as far as I'm concerned because they don't have to, things that has happened to me didn't have to happen. They didn't have to do that. And so I don't assume that I deserve it. I appreciate the fact that they think enough of me to want to do that much to honor me.
Well, I can tell you last year, getting a chance to see you sing live, you know,
Interesting, huh?
what's that?
Interesting, huh?
Interesting, I would say entertaining, uh, uplifting would be a word that I
Yeah.
would use. And I remember after your performance, Quint Davis, he said, simply the best, like the song title. But that's humbling to you.
Yeah, yeah. You know, as an entertainer, a lot of my associate entertainers, and I say associates, those of us who are in the business, a lot of them to me appear to be people who feel that I'm supposed to have this. You're not supposed to have anything. You're just fortunate enough that you have gained the popularity and the love of your fans. But you shouldn't act as if though, well, I deserve this.
Hmm.
No, no, that's not being humble. It's not making any sense to me because if you're fortunate enough to be blessed to have a talent that has earned you a profitable living, then you should be thankful and always remain humble and don't assume anything.
Hmm. Well, I know what it's like to sit in the audience at a concert or at a festival, but what is it like from your perspective? What is it like to stand on stage and you look out and you see a sea of people?
Well, I look at it as my giant living room. I'm entertaining my company. And the reason I've always felt very comfortable on stage. The bigger the crowd, of course, the better. But even if it was just three or four people and they paid to get into the club, I would entertain them as if though it was thousands of people because they paid their money and they thought enough to want to spend that money to come. So that's like my giant living room.
Hmm. I've heard some singers say that to sing in front of a small crowd, like at a club, can be more intimidating than when you sing in front of thousands. Not
Nah,
to you.
it doesn't intimidate me. First of all, when you well, I'm an only child, which I've said before, and I've always felt that the gift that I was given was my way of getting attention. So I revel in it. I love it. I'm very comfortable in it. I've only been nervous a couple of times and not so much for the singing part, but being able to be accepted. And that was when I made the trip overseas, and I had never been out of the country before. And then on my 50th birthday, I sung on a record with B.B. King, which was somebody my daddy had been playing his records practically all my young days. Whenever he was off from work, he would play people like B.B. King, John Lee Hooker, Lightning Hopkins, and those kind of people. But to be actually in the presence and a part of someone who I grew up listening to, yes, I was a bit nervous, not intimidated, but a
Hmm.
bit nervous. But he made me feel very comfortable. So once I got comfortable, it was on.
Wow. So what was B.B. King like?
A very nice gentleman. Very nice gentleman. And I don't think he went out of his way to be nice. It was just part of his nature to be nice.
Now, Bob Dylan, he called them in one of his songs, he said, those British bad boys, the Rolling Stones. Now, last year you had a kind of an interaction with them.
Yeah, they actually performed at Jazz Fest last year and requested that I do a performance with them. And when we went out on the stage before he called me out, he explained to the people how Time Is on My Side became one of his favorite songs and that they decided to record it and that they were giving me my props. And so it was on after that. I had stopped singing it because, people were saying that I was singing a Rolling Stone song when they actually got it from me, So once that was cleared up, I was okay with it. We went out there like we'd been working together forever.
What did you think of that experience?
Well, the thoughts that was going through my mind, and ironically, he has the same medical history that I have. He has AFib, and I have AFib. He has had to have some kind of procedure, and I've had two procedures on my heart. And so, for us to be in our 80s, mind you, and still able to perform as well as we did that day, to me, that was the biggest blessing ever given to any two people.
Hmm.
Because there was no guarantee that we would be around long enough to even do that, let alone be able to actually do it. To me, that was what I was thinking. Look at the blessing that we've been blessed with our talent. We're able to appreciate each other and give each other props and get out there like we've been working together forever.
So the Jazz Fest folks tell me that you're going to be performing this year, April 26th and May 2nd.
Mhm.
What can people expect this year?
Irma.
Well put. Well
That's all
put.
I can say. Over the years, and I've been doing it for so long till I can't remember when it started, but in growing up and maturing and paying attention to my audience, I learned a few things by watching other people and people at other people's shows. And whenever I was asked to do a set list, I would give them a set list, but I never do everything that's on the set list because my audience is my set list. If it's anything that's disappointing, and I know I would be if I had spent the money that some of these people spend to go to see a particular performer and don't hear your favorite song, you leave there pretty disgusted and upset. So I don't do a set list. I come out and I have songs that I open my set with. And when I'm available, when I'm able to, I let my audience tell me what they want to hear. And if I have it in my cheat iPad and I haven't sung it in a while, I'll let them know, look, I haven't sung this in a while, but I'll sing as much of it as I can remember. And I have the words here. The band don't know it. I'll do it a cappella because
Huh.
I'm there as an entertainer to entertain them. I'm not entertaining me, I'm entertaining them. And when they've spent the money that they have spent to come, I think they deserve hearing their favorite song. So that's why I don't do set lists. I do them, but they want a set list out there. Okay, here's your set list. But oftentimes when I come off stage, they say, well, you didn't do this, you didn't do. I said, well, you asked for the set list. I didn't tell you I work from a set list. My audience is my set list.
Well, I like to hear the songs that you show up and you want to hear, but also I like the surprises. Last year you did your set and then you came out with Jimmy Buffett's old band, the Coral Reefer Band, and you did this song, I Will Play for Gumbo.
Mhm.
That was very cool.
They were doing a tribute to him, so why not?
Now, was
I
that a
thought it was
song?
fun.
It was fun.
Yeah.
Was that a song that you knew or did you
No,
rehearse it?
they actually sent it to me a few weeks when they had decided to do this dedication to him. They sent me the songs and they said, Irma, we would like, if you don't mind, we would like for you to do this particular song. So they sent it to me and I lived with it a couple of days or so before the set, and I had the lyrics right there. It was fun. I thought it was a fun song to do.
Yeah.
So it really didn't create a large problem. It was just once we had rehearsed it and I knew which direction they were going in, we got out there and we just had fun doing it. At least I did anyway.
I think you're the type of singer that if you're singing the song, you can make it work. You can make it a song for you.
Try. I try. Well, when a song has a storyline, I think of myself as a vocal storyteller because that's basically what we're doing. We're taking a situation and we're telling the story about the situation. And so that's why 95% of the songs I have recorded, they all have some kind of storyline involved. So that makes it easy for me to be able to relate to it because having lived the life that I've lived over these some odd 60, 80 some odd years, well, 84 now, because I just had a birthday a couple of weeks or so ago. you learn some things, and you learn to appreciate the fact that you can have a situation where you can sing a certain song and it make people happy. It helps them to get through whatever it is they were thinking about at the time they chose that particular song to be their favorite song. So to me, I'm doing my job. And it is a job, but I don't think of it as a job. Like I say, my audience is it's like being company in my living room. I'm there to entertain. And as a person, when you invite someone to your house, you want to give them something to drink, offer them something to eat, or prepare something for them to enjoy the company that's involved. The only difference is that it's outdoors, or they may be in a club, wherever. But to me, that's the blessing, and that I was the gift that I was given to be able to tell stories in vocal music, and help someone get through whatever situation is they're trying to get through at that time.
What makes a good song to you?
If I can actually picture the story in my mind, it makes it easy. None of us know what's going to sell and what's not going to sell. So I don't think about how many millions of records this is going to. I don't think of it that way. I listen to the song and I choose the song because of the story that it's telling. I say recently, it took us a couple of years to finish it because I had to stay on them. I said, look, I ain't getting no younger. Y'all better finish the CD before I'm gone. I just did a CD with Galactic that's supposed to come out this month. And the songs that I'm doing on there is a lot different than what I'm accustomed to doing, but I stepped out of my comfort zone to do them. And there's several songs on there that make a whole lot of sense. In fact, all of them make a whole lot of sense. The only cover song is on there that's on there is called How Glad I Am. But other than that, the rest of them are all songs that they wrote particularly for me, and hopefully that I would love to do them. And it turned out beautiful. And
What
so I'll probably introduce a couple of those songs in my set, for Jazz Fest, but I don't try to shove the whole album down people's throat, because once again, I'm gonna do what they want to hear. And if that's something that they want to hear, I let them know, look, I just finished this one, I have to look at my cheat sheets. But you'll get what it is you want to hear, because that's what entertainment is.
yeah. Well, tell us about working with these guys, Galactic.
Well, they're fun bunch of guys. They the first one I did was called Heart of Steel some years ago with them. I did a song called Heart of Steel with them. And I think I was in my 70s at the time I recorded it. And they said, Miss Irma, we just want you to feel young. I said, okay. And I did it. I have a youthful attitude anyway, so that wasn't hard to do.
Definitely. So you say this album, it should be coming out in about a month?
No, this is March. It's supposed to be released this month. So they haven't informed me as to what week or date or what have you, but they told me it was going to be released in March. And today is what, the third?
Right.
So I haven't gotten any information on exactly what day, but they said it was going to be coming out this month. So we'll see.
Audience with the Queen.
That's the name of it.
All right.
How you know that?
Doing my homework.
Okay, okay.
Well, speaking of that, one of my favorite parts about interviewing somebody is when I get to go back and I get to dig through the catalog and I get to listen to stuff that I have, but then I like to find new things. And you were talking about storytelling. And one of the things that you did that to me, I thought, okay, this is just a knockout. The Dan Penn album.
It was different. Yeah.
Yeah. And you've done songs from a lot of different songwriters, from Randy Newman to Alan Toussaint. Who would you say the best songwriter is?
I, I find them to be on equal ground, because that's a talent in itself, and everyone isn't gifted to be able to write songs for people. And Dan, I don't know if Dan wrote a few songs that he had specifically had me in mind. The song that I had from Randy Newman, it was a part of a group of songs that the company thought my vocals would fit very well doing. And so I don't really say one writer is better than the other writer, because one writer writes in one genre way and the other writer writes in another way. And so I give them props on equal terms, because it isn't easy writing songs. The song that I wrote, which was number 17 in the nation, it was because I was in a stage of anger
Mhm.
in my life. I was not getting along with my then husband at that time, and I was really in a, as we say, funky mood. And it just flowed. It was, telling how I felt at that time. And so I think it came across that way. But I don't consider myself a prolific songwriter. If it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And a lot of times songs will come to me, but I forget to turn on my recorder on my phone or whatever situation I have to be able to put it down. And it goes away, because most songwriters will tell you, if you have an idea, to hurry up and put it down, because it'll leave you. Well, I'm kind of lazy when it comes to that part. Because I know, I don't really worry about it as much, because there's so many great writers out there, and I've been blessed to have been, working with several of them. Some have written more than others for me, but to me, that's a blessing.
Hey, here it is in the middle of this episode, the Paul Leslie Hour. We're going to take just a quick moment to ask a favor. Won't you subscribe to Paul's YouTube channel? I'm sure if you do, you will be one happy person. And above all else, following Paul on X, formerly known as Twitter, at the Paul Leslie. And remember to say hi to Paul. Now, back to the show.
And some of the greatest songwriters have come from Louisiana,
Well,
my opinion.
there you go.
Do you have any story about the late Fats Domino?
None that would stick out, other than, I mean, I've shared the stage with him, but I've not actually performed with him. I've shared stage with him, but Fats Domino, when I was growing up and getting started in the business, he was spending a lot of time in Las Vegas. And so I never had, other than when he would come home and they would have me to open a show for him, we've never really worked a song together per se. I've shared the stage being his opening act, but not anything where I could work with him. But I think being a Las Vegas act, he had gotten used to doing his songs in a certain way, in a certain uh, lineup. And so whenever he would come home and perform, you almost knew what was song going to follow what song, because he'd been doing it that way in Las Vegas. And that was one of the reasons I didn't want to play Las Vegas, because if I had to sing every night the same group of songs the same way in the same lineup, I would go nuts. I wouldn't mind doing the same songs, but that same way no, that's not Irma's bailiwick.
Hmm.
And that's the way they operate in Las Vegas. I played Las Vegas, for the city of Las Vegas. I did a show. They flew us in on a red eye, and when I finished doing the show, they flew us out on a red eye. So that's my Las Vegas experience.
Well, one of the legends in New Orleans music who passed away not long ago would be Clarence Frogman Henry.
Mhm.
My experiences with him was that he was a very humble, down-to-earth guy.
He was. He really was. We never really did anything together either, but we shared the stages. I've been a part of an opening act for him and vice versa. He's open shows that I was on, that I was not really the headliner, but a part of the lineup. And he's a typical New Orleanian. We're very hospitable when it comes to folk. Our work is just our work, and we love it, and we treat it that way. We treat it the way we want it. We want the audience to enjoy us as much as we enjoy them. And he was that kind of a performer.
Hmm. Well, well, there's a song that referenced both you and Frogman, Benny Spellman, Dr. John, and we were talking about him earlier. Jimmy Buffett song Saxophones, where he like kind of tipped the hat to all of you all. When you heard that song for the first time, what did you think of that?
You want to know something funny? I've never heard it.
Really
Never heard it. Folk told me about it, but I've never heard
interesting. That now that's fascinating to me. But
it.
but you know there's the lyric where he says he calls you Sweet Irma Thomas.
I'm told. I'm told. And they told me about it, but I have never heard it.
Did you
And
know,
some people
Miss?
still call me Sweet Irma Thomas. I don't know how sweet I am, but you know, I enjoy
It's
the fact that they feel that way about me.
it's stuck. Well, you'll have to look up the song.
I sure will.
Saxophones, it's called. Did you know Mr. Buffett?
I met him briefly, and I know he used to roam the Jazz Fest area a lot, and I've seen him standing backstage a couple of times when I was performing. But by the time I would finish my set, he would be gone. So we've never really had a sit down chit chat together or anything like that. But I know he loved the city. He spent a lot of time here, and I'm sure at some point or another he had heard me perform before, and he probably, hopefully, he enjoyed it enough to mention me in one of his records. It's that's the love that people have for this city and the entertainers that are part of it. And ironically, as long as I've been performing, 95% of my work has not been in the city of New Orleans. Now, the early part of my career, I played a lot of high school proms and bar mitzvahs and school dances, and that's sock hops, as they used to call them, because they would have them in the gym and they wouldn't let you wear your shoes in the gym. You had to wear socks. So that's how they came with that sock hop thing. But as my records became popular, a lot of my work took me out of the city of New Orleans. But those who are fans of mine who grew up with me still stayed my fans after all those years. And now that I work a little bit more often here in the city of New Orleans, those that are still alive and still around still come to my shows and still ask for them same songs.
Now, it's just a hunch, but I have a feeling that you're going to have an opinion on this.
Okay.
When people go to Jazz Fest, they come for the music, but there's a lot of people, they also come because there's just such a huge selection of food available.
Yeah, and I'm one of them.
Okay, so I'm on to something here. I've seen people where they've got a Tupperware with them.
I have eaten enough crawfish Monica to last most folks a lifetime. I love it. And there are other dishes that I like, but I bring my own Tupperware dish for that because I don't eat 4 hours, 4 to 5 hours before I perform. But I love that crawfish Monica. So I bring my Tupperware dish. So when I finish my set, I have my meal ready for me. But I'm one of those folks who go there for the food. Because even on days when I'm not performing and I have the energy to do it, I'll go out and become a customer of the festival.
Yeah,
Because I'll go around and I'll try this lemonade. I'll try something over here. My husband likes the hog cracklings, which they used to have a lot of, but they don't. I haven't seen them out there the last couple of years. They haven't. Anyone hasn't been cooking them, but he likes the hog cracklings, and he does eat the crawfish Monica too. And there was another spot that had a true Southern dish where they cooked the greens and the cornbread, and you could really get a Southern meal. But yeah, I'm one of those folks who go out there for the food as well.
yeah.
Although, I'm sure you've been out there. There, aside from the music and the food, there are a lot of local artists who have things that they photos and pictures that they've painted and artwork that they've created that they have on sale that are local as well. And when I say local, meaning from Louisiana, because it's not just New Orleans, it's the Louisiana situation. And there's a lot to see at Jazz Fest aside from eating and hearing the music.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. And for a lot of people, they can also, see Jazz Fest, of course, but then there's stuff beyond Jazz Fest. I mean, you've got the whole city right there.
Yes. Yes. And it's fun because a lot of folk who we've become close friends with, several of them, when I used to perform at the club, the Lion's Den that my husband had, we became close friends and we communicate even when we're not at Jazz Fest. And so several of them actually moved back to New Orleans.
Hmm.
So, that it kind of grows on you. If you don't watch yourself, you become a New Orleanian real quick.
I could see that. I could see that happening. Now, there's a lot of restaurants in New Orleans, and anytime I go into the city, it's like I got my little list, and try to work in. Is there any place that you would recommend?
If you like food,
Yeah.
I'm all. And the reason I say that because I don't get a chance to do that myself. Even though my husband and I are at that stage in our life where I don't do a lot of cooking, we eat out a lot. And so, but there are a lot of restaurants because of the situation where they're located, we don't get a chance to go to. And so, but I've heard folk go there and say that they enjoyed the food. So my thing is when you come to New Orleans and you love to eat, lose a few pounds so you can eat everywhere you want to go to eat. So when you gain that weight, you won't be mad at yourself.
That is wise. That I like this strategy a lot. The one place I haven't been to there is Antoine's.
I haven't either.
Yeah. I know it's supposed to be the oldest restaurant in I
It
think
is. It is. It's
yeah,
one of the oldest anyway.
yeah.
It's one of the oldest. I've been in it for a gathering for some club that had me as one of their guests, but the food was great. But once again, we try to go to restaurants where it's convenient enough that we can get in and out without a long walk.
Yeah.
Because as you mature, your body lets you know, look, you can't be doing all that walking anymore. And I'm not wheelchair bound, not yet, thank you, Lord. And I still drive myself to a lot of places. And so, and especially during Jazz Fest time, it's difficult to get transportation from say Uber or Lyft or any of those because everybody's using them. So we don't really do that much during Jazz Fest time. I just kind of stick around the house and go out to Jazz Fest and find us some food. But there's so many great restaurants and a lot of chefs are not necessarily from this area, but for some reason they come to this area and they rethink the way they cook the food. And I think because when we travel to the East Coast, we'll go to a restaurant and I always tell the waiter, and I say with a smile, I say, we put in our food what you decorate the plate with.
Seasoning.
And they'll look at me with that puzzled look, and I'll say, well, you put the parsley on the side. We cut it up and put it in the food.
Oh, well, it's true that in Louisiana they know a thing or two about spice, about seasoning,
Yes, yes.
the
So a lot
flavor.
of the chefs who move here, who may be from the East Coast or even from the West Coast for that matter, they kind of rethink their recipes somewhat to appeal to the taste buds of the locals, also to appeal to the taste buds of those visitors who come in and want to try a local restaurant. So they become local chefs by changing the structure of their recipes.
Hmm. So, Miss Irma Thomas, has there been a compliment that you've gotten through the years that means the most to you?
Hmm. I had never thought about it that way. I once again I tell folk I'm very blessed that I don't know my enemies. They may be out there, but no one has ever expressed that they didn't like me to me or anyone else for that matter, because they would tell me.
Hmm.
So I feel extremely blessed in that I have managed to be the kind of person that people don't mind being in their company. And when you become an entertainer and people can say those kinds of things about you to you or not with you or to friends of yours or even people who are fans of yours, to me, that's a blessing in itself because there are some entertainers that people don't want to be near, let alone go see. And that's not a good reputation. And it's not that I think about my reputation that bad, but I want to treat people the way I want to be treated. And I think that goes a lot further than being the entertainer. It's being human and realizing that the people who spending that money are just as human as you are. They have just as many troubles and problems in their lives, probably as you, maybe not as many, but they have them. We all are human. We have ups and we have good days and bad days. And the days when I don't feel up to being Irma Thomas, the singer, I don't go out because I'm not going to be rude to anyone because I don't want anybody to be rude to me. And
Hmm.
on those occasions when it does happen, I just kind of say, "You're having a bad day, huh?"
Huh.
And that's how you resolve it.
Well, twice now you've mentioned the golden rule, do unto others. What does God mean to you?
He means a lot to me. I have been in situations that I had no clue as to how I was going to get through it. And I think having that kind of faith and that kind of belief has brought me to where I am today. I still do. I'm in the alto section of my choir at my church. Every Sunday when I'm not on the road, I'm in the choir singing. And of course, I do a gospel set at Jazz Fest. So I have as much joy, maybe more joy, doing gospel than I do doing the rhythm and blues shows because I know what my faith has done for me and my belief has done for me and how it has created the situation where I don't have to worry about it. When I have a problem, I say my prayers. As they say, if you're going to pray, don't worry. If you're going to worry, don't pray.
Hmm.
I do both. I worry, but then I pray.
Huh.
And I let go and I let God. So yes, I have a very strong faith and I will always tell folk I'm blessed.
Do you have a favorite hymn or gospel tune?
Several. I have several of them. I could give you a whole book of them.
Tell us a few.
Well, there's one called I Am Redeemed, and there's another one called Blessed Assurance.
Great song.
Yeah. Oh, there's somebody with those things on their cars. Uh, but I have several that I really enjoy doing. There's another one called I've been singing Hallelujah all day. Sometimes I open my gospel shows with that. But, it depends on the mood and the occasion that I'm singing for. I choose the gospel song, hopefully to fit the occasion of what we're doing. But there are very few gospel songs I don't like.
Yeah. Did you ever record Blessed Assurance?
Think if I did. I've only recorded one gospel album, and that was what back in '96.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I did it or not. I may have.
We're going to try to
I
look it up and see.
never
What is the best thing about being Irma Thomas?
think of stuff like that. I wake up every day and be thankful that I woke up. Some things hurt, and I thank God I can still feel it. But I never think about what it's like being Irma Thomas. I mean, just being myself, I guess. I don't know. I never thought about me that way.
Hmm. Well, I can say that it's fun to witness Irma Thomas when you're listening to recorded music or when you're seeing live music. I don't know what it's like to be Irma Thomas, but I know that it's brought a lot of joy to me.
But thank you.
Now, would you have anything that you would like to say to our viewers and listeners out there in closing? And I'm talking, you have the stage, whatever.
Well, first of all, they are aware that I have a gospel CD possibly coming out sometime later on this year that I recorded with a group from overseas. I also have a book that's at the publishers. They're going over it to see if I need to add anything or change something, and I expect that to be ready sometime this year. But in terms of what I would tell folk is I am Irma Thomas, Sister Jackson at my church. Irma Thomas Jackson is my married name. And I'm just feeling very wonderful the fact that I'm at my age, which is 84, I'm still able to perform with some degree of decency. My voice is still pretty decent, and I'm just going to have fun being Irma, and hopefully that those of you who come to Jazz Fest or come to any of my shows understand that Irma is just Irma. She gonna be who she is, and your next door neighbor, maybe not your next door neighbor because you may not get along with your next door neighbor, but I'm just Irma, and just believe that I'm human and I have feelings just like anybody else. So I think about other people and how they feel, and I want them to be happy enjoying my entertaining. And if they don't mind, no, I don't work with a set list. You are my set list when I'm allowed to do that.
Actually, I have one more quick question.
Okay.
If you were taking a test and you came to the last question and it said, "Who is Irma Thomas?" What would you write there?
I would fail it.
What's that?
I would fail the test. Because I don't feel that I'm that selfish to care. I'm just being who I am, and I'm taking it one day at a time. It's difficult to describe yourself.
Yeah.
So I don't even go that way mentally to try to describe who I am. Because I have good days and bad days. It depends on when the question is being asked, how it'll get answered. And so I don't even think about it in trying to describe who I am and what I am and what I do. What I do is easy to describe because I enjoy it so much. But I couldn't answer it. I would fail that question horribly.
Well, if you were copying off of my paper, it would say the Soul Queen of New Orleans.
Okay.
Well, Sweet Irma Thomas, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. You brought a big smile to my face.
But thank you, Paul. I appreciate you taking the time, and I'm glad I was able to do Zoom. I'm learning. I'm still learning.
Very good. Very
Thank you
good.
so much.
Thank you. Thank you a lot.
You're welcome.
All right. And God bless.
And you too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
The Paul Leslie Hour is made possible by people like you, listeners, viewers. Please go to thepaulleslie.com/support, and you'll know what to do when you're there. Thank you. Thank you, everyone who contributes. Performance of The Entertainer intro song by John Primorano. And of course, this is your announcer speaking. See you next time on the Paul Leslie Hour.